Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm your host, Veteran Mountain Man. So, we've seen a rash of pushes to repeal the Second Amendment as of late, and one specifically I want to talk about is the Vice Chair of Civic Engagement and Voter Participation of the Democrat National Committee. That's right. You heard that. Louisiana Democrat Party Chairwoman Karen Carter Peterson tweeted recently that she wanted to repeal the Second Amendment and retweeted John Paul Stevens's Repeal the Second Amendment article from the New York Slimes. Now, something that I really wanted to discuss was specific to this article. Number one, we've only ever repealed one amendment, and that amendment was prohibition. And that was because prohibition turned the entire nation into criminals. So the prohibition of alcohol was repealed. Now, that is the only amendment that has ever been repealed. None of the original 10 have ever been touched. Prohibition was repealed shortly after it was created. It lasted less than 15 years. Less than 15 years. So why do these people think that the Second Amendment needs to be repealed now? Well, most of them say because we need to be able to control the guns of the populace. Well, this comes right back to the whole reason the Second Amendment exists to begin with. The whole reason for private ownership of weaponry was to keep the government from tyrannizing the citizenry. Because the second the citizenry is disarmed, the citizenry can now be slaves. But if the citizenry is armed, the citizenry is not slaves. They are participants in the government. Now, I know many people dislike this idea and say that this idea is antiquated, but the truth is that Hobbes, Locke, all of the original political philosophers, even Marx, talks about how important it is for the population to be involved in their government. And one way that you can ensure that a government will not tyrannize the public is to keep the government afraid of the public. And the way to do that is with an armed citizenry. Now, citizenry bearing arms and owning weapons is not a new thing. It hasn't been a new thing for over 1,000 years. Roman citizens were allowed to own arms. Greek citizens of Athens and Sparta and all over the Greek city-states were allowed to own arms. They were allowed to have their own spear, have their own sword, have their own shield. These were rights of the citizen. Now, it also meant that in time of war, you had to be ready to stand up and fight. And that, once again, is something that has been kind of tossed out in the United States. You know, everybody talks about the draft being defunct and no longer used and that it's an all-volunteer army. It is. And it's a good thing that it's a volunteer force because it allows us to be some of the best. But that doesn't mean that the citizenry shouldn't be ready to volunteer at a moment's notice. And it doesn't mean that citizens should be discouraged from volunteering for military service to serve the country and better the country. But that also means we need to get a hold of our politicians and change what they're doing. Now, the fact that the DNC is pushing this massive movement to change the Constitution just shows that they are losing ground and are trying to regain it, especially with the changes in the Merriam-Webster dictionary that have happened over the past week, redefining the word assault rifle or assault weapon. They're trying to give themselves the upper hand in the debate and force the issue in a way that will make it easier to take away your rights. But you'll have to stay vigilant. So keep your powder dry, keep your temper even, and be ready when the time comes. I want to thank you all again for joining me. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, or to thumbs up and subscribe to my BitChute channel if you're catching me there. Also, don't forget the other social media sites that I'm a part of are down below. I do work with a live streaming crew and live stream Mondays, Tuesdays, and some Wednesdays. It's the Chaos 120 News. You can actually see some of their streams in my channel on YouTube and also see some of their work in some of my favorited, and playlists. Thank you all again, and have yourselves a great day.